This video will contain spoilers for the Shaman King manga as well as the Shaman King 2021 anime. Your tribal chief has warned you. This video will be the beginning of a series in this channel where we compare the original 2001 anime against the manga and 2021 anime. Since the 2021 anime is adapting the manga, everything I say about the manga will also apply to the 2021 anime. Okay, this might end up being a very controversial video, but it has been bothering me for a while, and it will be an interesting debate for all of us to have. And that is, which version of the X-Laws do you prefer? The original 2001 anime or the manga and the 2021 anime? Up until a certain point, both adaptations are the same. It's just some moments are in a different order, such as Team X-111 fighting off against How. This was in chapter 137 of the manga and episode 24 and 25 of the 2021 anime. This fight occurred as an official fight in the Shaman tournament, whereas in the original anime, this fight occurred in episode 58 after How invades the Patch Tribe headquarters and cancels the Shaman tournament by himself. Or even both the introduction of the X-Laws in all incarnations are the same. We have the X-Laws introduced by killing Ashiro, one of Hao's minions, in episode 33 in the 2001 anime, but in the manga, it was chapter 103 where Yoh was about to ask Boris some questions regarding Hao, but then Marco got Michael to use his death penalty attack. The same scenario was adapted in episode 17 of the 2021 anime. So the story beats are still very similar. Even the teams that the X-Laws face in the Shaman tournament are the same, where we see Team X1, which consists of the Iron Maiden, Marco and Lyserg, where they fight against Team Nile, which occurred between chapters 120 and 125 of the manga, episode 21 of the 2021 anime and episode 43 of the 2001 anime. But it's until chapters 217 and 218 and episodes 54 to 56 of the 2001 anime where the major changes story-wise occur. In the 2001 anime, we have the Babylon Gate mini-arc, and in chapters 217 and 218, we hear the revelation that the Iron Maiden Jeanne is actually a normal girl and not the true holy being that she was presented to be. These are the two major differences between the manga and the 2021 anime versus the original 2001 anime. Now I'll go more in depth with that in a bit, but I want to first explain why the X-Laws are so important to the story. The X-Laws are the morally grey team in the series. Yes, they say at the beginning that law is the most absolute, and whoever doesn't abide by law needs to be served justice, such as in chapter 124 and in episode 43 of the 2001 anime. Because Team Nile were being disrespectful, they believed they could pass judgment on them. In the manga, they specifically say that we exact justice under the 10 laws, so they wholeheartedly believe that they are the good side. They are the team that eradicate evil, and by evil I mean How. But the thing is, Shaman King in general is not like a typical shonen. It's not just the X-Laws who are morally grey, it's every group competing in the tournament you can make that argument with. But what I will say, the team that is clearly the good guys are Yoh and his friends. Despite in their own group, Yoh and his friends are also morally grey characters. Yoh himself broke two big promises in this series. One was to Anna when he said he will be the Shaman King for her to have an easy life. But he broke that promise when he gave up competing in the Shaman tournament to save Ren. That's one promise. The other promise is when he pledged that he will quit the Shaman tournament as long as Ren is recovered. He promised that to the X-Laws with the Iron Maiden saving Ren's life and brought him back to life. So they kept their end of the bargain. But then in chapter 216, he straight admits that if he lost against the X-Laws, he deserves it, as he turned his back on the oath he gave them. Even Yoh acknowledged that he messed up with this, and he deserves the punishment of loss in the hands of the X-Laws. Look at the rest of his friends, Chocolov, Ren, Ryu. They all have done horrific crimes in the past. Ren and Chocolov used to kill people without any hesitation, just like the X-Laws. But Chocolov in chapter 207 and episode 37 of the 2021 anime asked to be blinded so he can see the pain that Seiram felt because he feels responsible for taking out the light of life from Seiram, so this was a way to atone for that. Ren in chapter 179 mentions that he let himself get stabbed if it brings peace to Nikrom's life. He would rather stay dead as his punishment to atone for the crime of killing his brother Crom. Yoh and his friends are human, they make mistakes, but what makes them the good guys in this story is that they know they screwed up. And because of that, they will do whatever it takes to make up for their past mistakes. Joko wants to make the world laugh because of the pain he has caused to so many people over the years. Ren wants to destroy the cycle of hatred which was fueled into him by his dad. They genuinely want to make the world a better place because of the horrific actions they have caused. However, the X-Laws don't recognize the damage they are causing. They believe in their ideals so much that it blinds them. All Team Nile were doing was standing up for themselves because the arrogance that Team X1 was showing towards them. So they thought they will not take the verbal abuse and talk back, which is perfectly understandable. And because they've talked back to Team X1, they deserve to die? This is insanity on the X-Laws part, and I'm talking about all incarnation of the X-Laws here, because remember, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the main story beats of the X-Laws are still the same. It's just towards the end the manga and the original anime divert. The series tries to picture an order of how the teams in the Shaman tournament are placed, in terms of good, evil and neutral. Good is Yoh and his friends, evil is Hao and his minions, neutral are the X-Laws, and the mystery group are the Gandaro group. You can also add the Patch tribe to the mystery group as well, but that's the order in what the series is trying to tell us. But in my opinion, I think the X-Laws are the secondary antagonists for Yoh and his friends. Think about it, the X-Laws are killing people left, right and center for the most illogical and ridiculous reasons. After Hao was introduced, when we met the Spirit of Fire for the first time in the airport, we saw a giant oversoul like the Spirit of Fire, with its own body separate from the Shaman, unlike Ren's dad who was infused with his oversoul to create the giant oversoul. But after we meet Hao, we end up meeting the X-Laws, who also have giant oversouls with the Archangels at their command. The Archangels are also not infused with the X-Laws, but are separate oversouls, just like the Spirit of Fire. So in a way, the X-Laws are the big test for Yoh and his friends before they fight off against Hao. The series tries to show that Yoh and Hao are yin and yang, two sides of the same coin, when in reality, that's not the case. Yoh is actually the human, kind-hearted and gentle side of Hao that was lost due to him reading all the evil thoughts of humans which consumed his heart and made him a demon, as Matamune explained to us in chapter 169. That is what Yoh is. The true yin to Hao's yang are the X-Laws. Hao wants a shaman kingdom with only strong shaman. The X-Laws want a world void of evil and under the 10 commandments. And in both ideals, it's only up to them who decides who is worthy to set foot in their ideal world. So in Hao's case, he decides who makes it as a strong shaman, and in the X-Laws' eyes, they decide who deserves punishment. Both Hao and his team kill without any remorse. Same with the X-Laws. Hao in his first shaman fight in the second round, when he fought against Team X3, who are part of the X-Laws, what does Hao do? He kills all of them without hesitation. Same thing with Team X1 fighting in the second round for their first match in this round. What does the Iron Maiden do? She kills all the members of Team Niles after Lyserg failed to finish the job. In these two scenarios, us in the audience, we are seeing Hao and the Iron Maiden fight in the tournament setting for the first time. And both of them kill their opponents, which makes me come to the conclusion that the X-Laws and Hao's teams are no different from each other. It's just their outlook on life and what the world should be is different. But whenever they need to make a point out of someone, they won't hesitate to kill them, so their actions are the same, even though their ideals are different. Which is why I say that the X-Laws are the secondary villains in this series, whereas Hao is the main boss after the X-Laws. There's 10 X-Laws and there are also 10 Shaman King officiants who end up being the last batch of fights before Yoh and his friends end up fighting Hao with his strongest ever oversoul. So in a way, the amount of times Yoh and his friends clashed against the X-Laws throughout the story is preparation for them to eventually fight against the 10 patch officiants, who coincidentally also have the same amount of members as the X-Laws. And yeah, I know Crom died, but so did some of the members of the X-Laws as well, so it still counts in my opinion. I love the X-Laws. They bring another enemy other than Hao to the story, which spices up the story even more. However, for me, that all came to an end in chapters 217 and 218, when it's revealed that Lucius Lasso discovered an orphan girl with an incredible sixth sense. But then in the same chapter, he says that he will have to execute her until he finds the real Jeanne. The Iron Maiden was a fake. Marco and Lucius were the ones training her up and brainwashed her into believing that she is the real holy girl. And the reason why Marco was following the X-Laws and eventually became the captain of them was because he wanted to kill Hao. That's it. I mean, it's a good reason to go after Hao, considering he more or less destroyed Marco's life with the orphanage and his business. But everything they stood for, all their beliefs in justice and the greater good, all people must obey law as the law keeps the order, all of this was fake. None of it was real. Marco in this very chapter says to Jeanne that she can drop the Holy Girl Act now. Everything was fake. They were already hypocrites from the beginning when it seemed like they were believing in their own philosophies, when they were saying that they are here to eradicate evil, when they are the ones killing people and starting fights. That already made them look like hypocrites. But now you're telling me that all of this was fake and the Iron Maiden wasn't an actual holy girl. Absolute disappointment when I read this. I couldn't believe it. The integrity of the X-Laws is completely gone now. You can't even take them seriously anymore. Even as secondary villains, you couldn't take them seriously. In the 2001 anime, they didn't do this. The Iron Maiden still remained a holy figure, which is what I prefer, I'll be honest. She couldn't carry on the fight because the Spirit of Fire ate Shamash, so she was powerless. But that didn't stop the X-Laws from trying to defeat Hao. They followed him into the Forbidden Forest and went on a suicide mission to try and take down Hao in episode 58 of the original anime. And this came after their master plan involving the Babylon Gate failed massively because Hao broke the gate from the inside. The X-Laws in the 2001 anime actually had a purpose. They believed in the words they were preaching. They actually had a plan, and that was to seal Hao away forever in the Babylon Gate, which is a good plan because it stops Hao from reincarnating again, because he's trapped forever within the Babylon Gate. And you see throughout the second round that the Iron Maiden is always focusing her Furyoku, but we didn't know what it was until we saw episode 56. In episode 56, they believed in Jeanne and their cause so much so that they were protecting the gate with their bodies as they were taking major damage from Hao's minions. You have to respect that. Yoh and them did, which is why they jumped in and protected the X-Laws from Hao's minions. But even after they fail miserably, they still carry on and try to take out Hao. Even in the final episode, the Iron Maiden acknowledges that they may not see eye to eye with Yoh, but if it defeats the ultimate evil, who they view is Hao, it's worth giving their Furyoku to Yoh in order for him to beat Hao. They stayed true to their values to the very end, which is why I respect the X-Laws in the original 2001 anime. However, in the manga and the 2021 anime, they have been a disappointment. They didn't even have a plan to try and defeat Hao. At least in the 2001 version, they had two plans in motion: the Babylon Gate and the Pyramid of Containment to destroy the oxygen. But they only did the second plan after the Babylon Gate failed, which shows that they were thinking ahead and that they care for each other as a group, because the suicide mission was the last resort. Whereas in the manga and the 2021 anime, the suicide mission was not only the first and last plan that the X-Laws had, it was also the suicide plan against Hao in the first match of the second round. What happens next when this plan fails? Do they have a backup plan? No, because we don't see anything else from them. This also shows to us that they don't really care about each other as a group. If you are part of the X-Laws, you are expendable, which is the same in Hao's crew, highlighting that there's no difference between Hao and the X-Laws. It feels like I was being lied to all series. The 2001 version of the X-Laws, as much as I hate them, they had integrity as they believed in what they were fighting for. Here, some of them died for nothing. Marco even says Dingbat, Lucky, Pof, Mine, Kevin and Venstar, who all died fighting Hao. He says in the chapter that he hopes they forgive him in the afterlife. He knows that he messed up lying to them. He even says sorry to Jeanne in the same monologue, saying he's sorry for what he did to her. He deceived everyone, including the reader as well. The Archangels being supercars, I actually don't mind. They remind me of Transformers, which is always awesome. But what I do find a problem is that the X-Laws were fake and didn't believe in what they were fighting for. I mean, the X-Laws that died believed in the Iron Maiden and their cause, but they all died for a lie, which I find infuriating. Why couldn't the Iron Maiden actually be the holy girl? Let her be this boss of a shaman. Let her be one of the main antagonists for Yoh to defeat in order for him to get to Hao. But instead we got this. I don't know, maybe I'm being too harsh on the manga and 2021 version of the X-Laws, but for me this wasn't a cool swerve. I would have preferred the X-Laws to be true to their values like they were in the 2001 anime. But enough from me. What do you guys think? Which version of the X-Laws do you prefer? Let me know in the comments down below, and don't forget to subscribe to the Shaman Tribe.